Daniel.
Yeah, I haven't got much to say, but what I'm quite interested in is what I've studied recently. It is that the revisionists don't understand uneven development and socialism in one country and all this sort of thing. So one of the things they can do to legitimise their anti-Marxist theory is to utilise dogmatism. So one example of dogmatism is confusing the final victory of socialism with the initial victory of socialism and the building of socialism in one country. The final victory of socialism will require several countries to establish, but that is not the case with the process of initial victory of socialism as national state and the building of socialism. So what Zinoviev did, for example, was to confuse the two.
Well, first of all,
do you follow what I was saying there?
yeah. First of all, nobody is opposed to world revolution taking place instantly, overnight, all over the world, right? It's not as though there are people who want world revolution overnight, and there are those who say, no, it's far too hasty a step, we mustn't really do that. The fact of the matter is historical experience confirms that world revolution doesn't take place overnight. And revolution takes place where the chain of imperialism is at its weakest, and the chain breaks, and you take the advantage, and you don't say, well, sorry, we won't really make a revolution because it isn't exactly according to our blueprint. It's not right. We must start all over again, and we shut shop. I mean, I met some people who are from, at least nominally, a Trotskyite organization in another country. I met them in Moscow, and I started discussing with them. They're talking about Stalin, and they put forward the Trotskyist viewpoint, socialism can't be built in a single country. I said, well, at the end of 1920, it was clear that no other European country was going to have a socialist revolution. So you had one in the Soviet Union. If you had been in charge of the Soviet Union, forget about Lenin, forget about Stalin, if you'd been in charge of the Soviet Union, would you then have said, brothers, it's not our time, shut shop, pull down the shutters, switch off the lights, and our day will come and hand over the power to the Russian bourgeoisie and their imperialist friends abroad?
Well, that's what Trotsky said. That's what Trotsky said.
Yeah. So he said, no, we would have carried on. I said, in that case, you haven't really got much of a difference. I had some flowers in my hand. We were standing by the Kremlin wall. I said, you will put it at the grave of Stalin. He did but asked me not to tell him who he was, so I'm not telling you. I mean, it really is like saying to be an effective organization in this country, the communist organization needs to have several 100,000 members. I refuse to enroll the next 5 because the 100,000 are not applying altogether. I mean, that would be stupid. It's exactly the same. If you get a chance of a revolution, whether it's in a tiny place like Nepal or a larger country like Tsarist Russia was, well, you grab the chance and then make that as a base for spreading it further. And I really think that the Soviet Union was a base for world revolution. Isaac Deutsche, who hates Stalin as much as he loves Trotsky, never misses the chance of saying what a dull-witted person Stalin was. And yet in his biography, he has to, it's an oxymoron to have an honest Trotskyist scholar, but he was considerably an honest scholar. He ends up by portraying Stalin that in spite of him, Stalin comes out as a giant. And then one of the things he says is, after the Second World War, Stalin ended up by putting into effect and realizing Trotsky's program of permanent revolution by bringing revolution to Eastern and Central European countries. Now, when there is a chance for bringing it to several countries, yes, Stalin would be happy to help Thailand. But there's no way that he was going to be involved in some adventurous activity before the imperialists themselves had started a war in order to bring revolution either to Germany or Czechoslovakia or Romania. That way things just don't happen. Nationalism is too strong a force in our world to be discounted. People don't like to be invaded, to have the benefits of socialism brought to them. But in the completely different circumstances, where Nazism has run amok as a terrorist organization and a torment to the people of the world, when the Red Army comes, it is treated as liberators. They are not occupiers. Nobody fought against the Red Army, except the fascists. The majority of the population greeted them, and that's the circumstance in which you rouse rebellions in other countries. Personally, I'll have revolution in a single street if it was possible. Why not? Why not? I mean, something is better than nothing. Why shouldn't I live in a street which is run on socialist lines, where everybody cares for everybody? You don't have to lock your door against the thieves. You know, you can communally organize the looking after of your children. Everybody doesn't have to have a lawnmower or a washing machine, as the case may be. Why not? You know, everybody doesn't have to cook every night. So all sorts of things could go. Now, I'm reducing it to an absurdity. What I'm saying is, you don't give up the chances of having a revolution just because it's not coming everywhere. Because, unfortunately, it doesn't come everywhere on a single night. I know exactly where it's coming from, and I was only agreeing with you, but I then went further to say, this whole idea that Stalin didn't want revolution everywhere, Trotsky wanted, is an absurd one. How could the Soviet Union be more safe if other countries stay capitalist? It was the endeavor of the Soviet Union to act as a base to spread the world revolution. But it had to be done in a very clever, intelligent way, because any other course would have destroyed the Soviet Union. And they did very well.